Welcome to BW Businessworld. Today we are at the Future of Management Education Conclave, and I have with me Dr. Vishal Talwar, the Director of IMT Ghaziabad. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Talwar.
Thank you. Thanks.
My first question to you is going to be, you have been with IMT Ghaziabad for some time now. How has the journey been for you?
Oh, it's been fun. I think IMT Ghaziabad is an institution that has been there for the last 42 years. Done a lot of magic, contributed to the business ecosystem all across the world, not only in India. We have great faculty, we have great alumni, we have great students studying with us. We have a great ethos of being able to help in this whole process of transformation. And I think I've been on that journey. It's been good. I look at myself as someone who is like a facilitator in this whole process. So you have a good set of individuals, a good set of fundamental processes in place. If I look at myself, my idea is to see how we can possibly manifest that to further levels, global levels, higher echelons. How do we do that? That's essentially been my focus in this whole process. I've had the advantage in a way or satisfaction of having the team working along with me.
You said you see yourself as a facilitator. Would you say that's your leadership style?
Well, yes. At the end of the day, we as leaders of institutions, we all have to facilitate. We all have to facilitate and reach a certain kind of a goal. Or let's say in Sanskrit or Hindi, you have to be nimit matras, which means that you have to be able to allow the team to display and express their potential and capabilities. And you're there to be able to remove the obstacles. You're there to be able to remove a lot of inhibitions, for example. You're there to be able to build the skill sets. You're there to be able to motivate. And whenever there's an opportunity or people want to come along and express themselves or get guidance and mentorship, leaders like us need to be there. We have to be able to also understand the big picture. We have to be able to understand where education is in the next 10 years. That's the kind of drive we need to be able to have. We need to be able to trust the team. We need to be able to back the team because they are the ones who will deliver.
Absolutely. And in your own time here, what kind of changes have you observed in the preschool education? Because you're always trying to make sure that your students are ahead of the curve, training the next generation leaders. So what components have been added?
Well, we're always in the state of change, to be honest. Business school education has had the pleasure of being in a metamorphosis kind of a scenario for quite some time. And because that is the case, there are macro changes that are affecting business school education. There are micro changes that are affecting business school education. There's the whole change in expectations of the students. There's a whole change in how curriculum is delivered. There's a whole change in technological prevalence. There's a whole change in terms of how people think. There's a change as far as the education policy is concerned. So when these changes are happening, I think you're almost in a scenario wherein you have to have multiple hands. You have to be able to then kind of juggle a great deal. So I think in this whole situation of jugglery, you have to start thinking about what are the new courses that you do. How do you build an interdisciplinarity into your courses? How do you ensure you get the right kind of faculty? How do you retain the right kind of faculty? How do you do the right kind of collaborations and tie-ups? How do you deconstruct your curriculum? How do you create a certain level of experiential orientation in your students as well as in the kind of courses that you do? There are big questions that we have to answer in terms of where is, let's say, the management program headed? How the change is affecting management programs? How is technology going to come into the core of management education? A lot of these questions are something that we currently obviously dealing with. And how do we deal with such things? We deal with such things by bringing in more capabilities. Having the right kind of selection criteria for the students, bring in a certain kind of course base, bring in certain specializations, bring in certain electives, bring in certain kinds of faculty who may not necessarily exist in a traditional business school setup, but it's important that they exist because the whole change is actually happening. how do you then start looking at slicing and dicing your courses in certain formats, in certain ways, deliver them in certain formats, whether it's blended approaches, whether it is hybrid approaches to learning. There's so much at this moment that business schools are juggling with, but it's interesting times.
Absolutely, the industry is also evolving, and of course, there's a lot of things going on in the education sector as well, on national level, international level, and it can be difficult to kind of keep up with those. But can you tell me about some of the more active initiatives you've taken to kind of align yourself with some of these agendas, global and national?
So we've expanded our collaborations across the world. We have currently more than 53 collaborations all across the world. These are academic exchanges, these are course exchanges, these are faculty exchanges, these are student exchanges, these are a lot of intellectual output that we're trying to be able to create through the network, conferences that we would like to work on together, joint programs, for example. That's on the one side. On the other side is something that I was talking about about 20 minutes back, is this whole idea that what we're doing in the classroom has to be very, very different. Right? How do you ensure that what's happening in the classroom and even outside the classroom is curated well? Because learning is not just about what happens within the classroom. Learning is also about how do you ensure that you're designing those 2 years that the student is spending with you in a manner which learning doesn't become too intrusive. Learning happens as a natural form of natural way. That's something very, very important, because leadership is not something that is developed overnight. These are experiences that happen over a period of time. We've created centers. So, for example, we have a Center for Enterprise and Business Improvement. What are we doing through that? Well, we are actually engaging with the industry. Our faculty and students are actually engaging with the industry. They're solving real problems for different kinds of organizations there. These could be very, very small enterprises who possibly may not be able to get, at times, this kind of skill set or this kind of talent, but we are actually opening up our network for that. Similarly, we're doing it for new age organizations as well, fintech organizations. Why are we doing this? Once again, it's the practicality of the learning that becomes important. We have, Center for Faculty Development, which we've, created over the last 1.5 years. And why are we doing that? Because at the end of the day, the faculties also have to evolve over a period of time. Let's say the newer faculty coming in, they have to be able to be part of, the process. Their pedagogical orientation has to be of a certain kind. They have to bring in their flavor, but at the same time, they also have to be able to be comfortable in those kind of environments. So that's what Center for Faculty Development does. At the same time, we're focusing a great deal on the Center for Data Sciences. That's something that also come up in the last 1 year, because once again, management education is changing at its core, is becoming technologically orientated. Our Center for Data Sciences is being able to help in this whole, what I would call as quantitative appreciation of management subjects, right? As we go along, we want to, our academic advisory boards, even for these centers, are of a certain standard from all across the world. They're coming in, they're telling us, they're working with us on, various issues, various aspects, whether it's research, whether it is classroom education, whether it is, faculty development programs, and let's say in the analytics space and the machine learning space. And we're not just leaving it for ourselves. IMT Ghaziabad is an institution, which actually believes that growth can only come out of, being able to share this kind of learning across the board. So we're not just working with ourselves intrinsically, but we're working other organizations. We've done collaborations, let's say, with Triple IT Delhi. We've done collaborations with, Institute of Rural Management, Anand in Gujarat. These are all ways and means to be able to tinker with, in a positive way, the kind of learning that we do in the classroom.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking, because obviously to do all these kinds of steps, immense amount of resources required. It's like you need to have those kind of connections, be able to go out and meet with people. But there's also a lot of new universities coming up. Do you have any advice for those who are starting new universities and who need to kind of also establish a certain credibility and form these kinds of connections?
Look, I think India is a vast, I won't use the word market, but India is a vast space to be able to contribute and create a lot of impact. And I believe fundamentally that, contribution and impact should not just be, or will not just be a function of how long you've been in existence. It should be a function of how dynamic you can make your learning. So a lot of new institutions, also have the opportunity to be able to bring in certain processes, certain programs, certain kinds of faculty to be able to create that impact, right? New setups, that come along, have that opportunity to start afresh, right, as well. So I think there is enough ability to coexist and contribute to a vast country like India.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing that with us and your insights, and look forward to having you talk
Sure.
with us more.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Pleasure. Thank you.